sometimes I think we treat tech as such a different, unusual aspect of parenting. And I understand it's different because it's addictive, and it's different because parents don't want to give up their devices. And that's why it's so hard for them to get their kids to give up theirs, or an app on a phone, if you will. But we got to do it. Why? Because we're the parents, and the kids matter, and they matter today and tomorrow. And we see that this is changing who they think they are.
Don't be afraid of the dark. Be careful with stars. Not every light is gonna guide you, baby. Not every light is gonna guide you.
All right, so Dr. Kathy, Snapchat is working to make it harder for teenagers to be contacted on the app by people they don't know. It's really the latest effort to stop the sexual and financial exploitation scam that's becoming known to be sextortion. The company on Tuesday announced a set of new safety features, including expanded warning pop-ups that appear when a teen receives a message from someone that they don't share mutual friends with, or they don't have in their contacts. Now, teens will also receive a warning message if they receive a chat from a user who has been blocked or reported by others, or who is from a region where the teen's other contacts aren't located. They'll receive a pop-up on their screen that says, this, quote, signs that this person may be a scammer, end quote. This is the latest move by really, I think, many people in the internet era and kind of around the nation to work to make the internet safer for really people, but mostly for teens. I think this really makes sense, but it's kind of, I would say, maybe the internet on training wheels. I mean, I don't want to play devil's advocate, but I'm going to, right? I've traveled to foreign countries in high school. I learned what it was like to live in those countries, that it was different from the safety of my own country. And I had to handle my money differently. I had to watch how I zipped my backpack. I had to look at things differently when I was in that country. Should we look at digital tech almost like we're visiting a foreign country? Or do we really need to put different guardrails or protections on these companies to really give better guidance for parents or other people in modern society? Should we just build up their muscles and help them, toughen up for these things? Or is it better to just say, you know what, we can create a world where everyone's safe? What are you thinking there, Dr.
I think this is really challenging. I think that it is essential that we teach parents and older people that are not as intuitive with tech what to understand about, these different apps and the different things that kids use so spontaneously and so easily. And I think I don't know if this answers the question, but I think one of the challenges today with technology is that children know more than their parents. Children are intuitive, children have experience, children experiment, and parents are just saying, no, 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 no. And parents need to know enough to know why their no should be a no, so that the kids can be maybe more convinced. Now, do I wish that every kid would just receive a dad's no as a no and walk away whistling? Of course I do, but that's not reality, because the kids know they know more than their parents. And I think that becomes a really difficult thing. So we need boundaries and barriers, and we need truth. We need protection. We need guidance, and we need support. And we do need to say no at the right time and yes at the right time.
Dr. Kathy, I do think that's really true. There is a place for, kids to, I think, kind of cut their teeth, or, maybe challenge or get an understanding for knowledge. I know that we have a logic smart child that at many, in many stages of my parenting, I've looked at him and said, you are driving me crazy. But also, he's logic smart. So I need to engage this and allow him to practice or exercise those muscles, right? It's a little bit like what I was wondering with that bigger question. Do we need to challenge kids to really live in this kind of rough and tumble world and know what they're going to experience? Or is it better for us to create that, gentle, kinder place? And I think it goes to this idea that we oftentimes look at things and we kind of, rather than asking what something is for, we start using it right away for the thing we want it to be used for. And I wonder, if we did that with some of these apps, specifically Snapchat. It's got a really challenging history. It's an app that was developed in college by a bunch of boys that wanted girls to snap them pictures of things that weren't appropriate to text. It's when we look at Snapchat and what it was for, we would look at it and say, well, then I shouldn't use it for what it's being used for right now with my teens. I don't want them using that. How would it be different for us if we actually took a step back and asked what these apps were designed for? I think we would use them far less. especially things like Facebook and Snapchat. Do we need to do that more with our kids, to go into doing some of the research of what this app was for and then ask the kids if they intend to use the app for that? Would that make a difference? What do you think about that kind of approach?
I think it would for logic smart kids and for people smart kids who are oriented toward thinking about and with other people. They might say, well, it was designed for that, but that's not what it's used for now. But does the origin matter? I mean, I think the origin matters for just about anything that's created. I think we had an interesting discussion. And yeah, I love this idea that Snapchat isn't really something for anything good. So why would we put our money, our time, and our energy there? If we want real relationships and we want real authority and we want real truth, then we're not going to go there. And parents just need to say that.
Yeah, I do think parents need to step in and say that and have those hard lines. I mean, we've done that in our house, but we've also had places where we've walked in and said, oh man, the cat's out of the bag, guys, you can use this internet site during your, screen time, and this is great, or you can play this video game during the screen time. And then we get in and we're in the water and we're like way too late to the game to reel it back in sometimes. What do we do for those of us that are in that stage as parents? How do we, get the cat back in the bag, or how to reel things back? Is there a way to do that?
Yeah.
How would you guide parents with that?
Yeah, we reel it back in. We don't just let it keep going and go, oh, I missed an opportunity. No, we reel it back in and we sit our kids down and we say, I am so sorry. Or we are so sorry. We thought the game would be good for you. Your cousin plays it, or your neighbor plays it, or your teacher recommended it, or whatever. We thought it would be okay, but we have watched you play it and we've watched what it does to you. And we can't allow it anymore. You're aggressive towards your sisters. You've become argumentative with your mom. This is the dad speaking. You've become argumentative with your mom. And when we've prayed about and observed and wondered where that's come from, it's come from the games that we've allowed you to play. We made a mistake. You're not a bad kid, and we're not terrible parents. We made a mistake, and but we're going to rectify or correct the mistake just like we correct other mistakes. And therefore, we have removed that game from your device. No, you can't. No, we can. It's our device. And we're allowing you to use it. So we've removed it. And we're so sorry that we've tempted your brain, to go into a kind of a dark space. So I think we admit what's going on. And it's not about shame and blame. It's about love. We love you so much that we're going to remove this app from your device. We made a mistake. Most parents would admit that they had no idea what they were doing when they allowed the kid to start using a phone. And the same thing is true when our parents allowed us to start driving, or whatever the analogy might be. And Wayne, what if I suggested that in all of parenting, we've had to reel things in? When you left the Oreo cookies on the counter and you realize, oh shoot, Frank just ate 12. That was not good of Frank to do, or whatever the case is. Maybe for 3 weeks in a row, we let our kid not go to youth group. There was a complaint. There was a reason. Oh, it's too snowy, too cold. I've got too much homework. And so for 3 weeks in a row, you did not require that your child go to youth group, and you realize that a pattern's been set and he took authority away from you. You would not allow him to keep not going to youth group just because for 3 weeks you didn't make him go. You would reel that back in, and you would, in some way, shape, or form, cause that child to want to go back to youth group, or he would go whether he wanted to or not. Why? Because you're the parent and you have values and you know what is best for your child now and into the future. So sometimes I think we treat tech as such a different, unusual aspect of parenting. And I understand it's different because it's addictive, and it's different because parents don't want to give up their devices. And that's why it's so hard for them to get their kids to give up theirs, or an app on a phone, if you will. But we got to do it. Why? Because we're the parents and the kids matter, and they matter today and tomorrow. And we see that this is changing who they think they are.
As Dr. Kathy was talking, it reminded me of a passage out of Hebrews 10, and I'll begin reading at verse 19. Therefore, brothers and sisters, since we have confidence to enter the most holy place by the blood of Jesus, by a new way of living that is opened up for us through the curtain, that is his body, and since we have a great priest over the house of God, let us draw near to God with a sincere heart, and with full assurance that faith brings, having our hearts sprinkled to cleanse us from guilty conscience of having our bodies also washed with pure water. Let us hold unswervingly then to the hope that we profess, for he who promised is faithful. And let us consider how we may spur one another on toward love and good deeds, not giving up meeting together, as some are in the habit of doing, but encouraging one another, and all the more as we see the final day approaching. This framework for why we get together in Hebrews is really powerful. I think sometimes we look at different things inside of technology and we ask this big question, or maybe we don't ask the big question. Why are we on it? Why are we trying to get together in this platform? Why are we communicating in this way? What are the things that we hope to pull from it? I think that maybe if we asked some of those fundamental questions or called our kids to, why are you texting your friend? Why don't you call them? Why are you guys just sitting here on the couch texting back and forth rather than, sitting and making a pie or going to a burger place or going to do something together and build relationship? What if we looked and asked some of these bigger questions of why we do this way? It could be really powerful. What we see in the Hebrews is that we get together to encourage each other, to spur each other on toward, unity, greater love and connection, and also good deeds. And we shouldn't give up meeting together and find other techniques or ways of doing it, but we should continue to do that even more and more as we see the final day approaching. Maybe our kids need a framework for why we use technology and what we hope to pull out of these apps and these different things that we're communicating with. Maybe if we gave them a framework, it might give them some bright lights or some hope or some understanding of the pathway that they're walking, that they don't have to walk in darkness in these moments. I want to thank you for listening to the Celebrate Kids podcast, this daily segment, Facing the Dark. On behalf of Dr. Kathy Cook, my name is Wayne Stender, and we're so glad that you're joining us this week, and we look forward to seeing you here again tomorrow.